I think what he was doing is giving a whole bunch of attention to a fringe group in Alberta that's never going to get any legs under it.
David Eby stirring the hornet's nest here today. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, David Eby saying it's treason that Albertans are pissed off about the treatment they've received over the past 10 years from the Liberal Party of Canada. This is coming from Premier's meeting in Ottawa. You've got Doug Ford, Danielle Smith, all of them talking about this. And let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got JJ McGullough posting this. I threw together this. Carney keeps having these dumb meetings with premiers, which he says the exact same thing every time. And yet somehow he still needs to keep having the same meeting, even more followed up by the exact same talking points forever. So he's got all the times here. The premiers and I are focused on building one strong Canadian economy. It's March 21st. In the face of immediate trade pressures, we are focusing on building the strength at home. It's all the same thing here, one after the other. Mark Carney, he's not doing anything. It's a whole lot of talk, no action. Even from yesterday, Canada is stronger, more prosperous, and more secure when we are united. The premiers and I are meeting in Ottawa to break down provincial trade barriers. Okay, yeah. Well, we get it here. Nothing's happening. This chart here sums up the rest of the episode. What do we have? The red here is what Canada sells. The blue is what Canada buys. What does Canada sell? Energy products. That's number one. That's the biggest one. Oil and gas. Mining, agriculture, forestry and paper. What do we buy? Consumer goods, electronic equipment, vehicles and parts, machinery and equipment, chemicals and plastics. But mainly the top one here, energy products, oil pipelines, all of this, Alberta. That's what we're talking about here today because David Eby has insulted Albertans. So among the meeting here, Mark Carney came out with this. Out of all the things we could be focusing on, he's talking about electricity grid.
The federal government will release a draft, to be clear, a draft of our national electricity strategy, a strategy designed to complement provincial and territorial leadership. Our objective is to more than double the size of Canada's electricity grid, increase Canada's energy advantage, and deliver cleaner, more reliable, and more affordable power for Canadians.
Since when do we need cleaner electricity? We're already a world leader in that. Is this top of mind for anyone, improving our electricity grid? I'm sure there's some outskirts places that need it, but I mean, this is not the top priority in Canada. Here we've got David Eby himself in this 1 minute and 22-second clip here, finds a way to just completely insult Albertans beyond belief.
I'd like to just take and pause a moment. I read an article last night in the Financial Times about a group of people from Alberta, I won't describe them as Albertans, who went to the White House seeking the assistance of the United States to break up our country. Now, I understand the desire to hold a referendum, to talk about the issues you want to talk about in Canada. We got free speech, that's important. But to go to a foreign country and to ask for assistance in breaking up Canada, there's an old-fashioned word for that, and that word is treason. It is completely inappropriate to seek to weaken Canada, to seek to go and ask for assistance to break up this country from a foreign power.
It's completely inappropriate to block a pipeline from Alberta to BC, and then when the people get pissed off and try to do something else, then throw a tantrum like a petulant child on the government's national broadcast here. Surely he must understand the hypocrisy of this. He blocks the pipeline, and then he gets mad at Albertans for doing something else, finding another way for prosperity. You can't make this up.
And with respect, a president who has not been particularly respectful of Canada's sovereignty. I'm going to be raising that issue at this table. I think that while we can respect the right of any Canadian to express themselves, to vote in a referendum, I think we need to draw the line at people seeking the assistance of foreign countries to break up this beautiful land of ours that our forefathers, our foremothers, our parents, our grandparents fought for. There is a line. And especially at this time when all Canadians have to pull together, I think we can speak as one voice about conduct like that.
All right, let's back this up a little bit.
There's an old-fashioned word for that, and that word is treason.
This guy wants to talk about treason. Wrong move, Eby. So I've now expanded the China section of the Moose chart here, moosechart.com, but this is not updated on the public version yet. So what we have here is a whole bunch of organizations here that are all directly connected to the United Front Work Department, which is China's propaganda wing of the Chinese government. So we've got the Wenzhou Friendship Society, Canada Committee 100 Society, Toronto Chinese Community Federation, the JCCC, Jiangsu International Chamber of Commerce in China, Canada Toronto Huqing Business Association, Confederation of Toronto Chinese Canadian Organizations, the Canadian Chinese Media News Network, the Canada-China Federation of Entrepreneurs. And as you see, these all feed into the United Front Work Department, which directly answers to Xi Jinping and the Communist Party of China. They might as well just rename this the Chinese Propaganda Department, because that's what it is. They get people all over the world in positions of power or influence to control things in other countries like Canada, all sorts of countries, Australia, UK, America, you name it. And what do we have here today? So David Eby is wrapped up in two of these organizations. He wants to talk about treason. This guy's advisor is Ding Guo. You can see that here right on official British Columbia website. Premier announces new Chinese Canadian Community Advisory Committee, and among that, one of his key advisors is Ding Guo right here, journalist and TV commentator. David Eby also, you can see here, nominated Ding Guo. You can see nominator David Eby nominated Ding Guo for the King Charles III Coronation Medal. This is on the Governor General of Canada website. Her Excellency, the Right Honorable Mary Simon. David Eby nominated this guy for a coronation medal. And Ding Guo here founded his Vancouver-based group, Canada-China 100 Society, and he leads this group. This group has events, publications. Some researchers allege United Front ties. Ding Guo here also writes for this, which is Rise Weekly or Rise Media. As we see here, Ding Guo is a special contributor to Rise Weekly. We've got former Richmond MP Chu hopes China election meddling results in foreign agency registry. Well, the Liberals still not getting around to that, are they? So you can see here, there's a front page ad of the pro-Beijing Rise Weekly. We've also got this one here. Rise Weekly is named here. Professor Fung also appointed Rise Magazine a two-sided Chinese language magazine, which is Rise Weekly on one side and Rise Home on the other. He also said the publication was known to advance the views of the CCP. So as it says here, this outlet associated with Ding. So I've got all the sources here, all of these linked to all these articles. Eby's comments framed as a definitive planned visit to China were picked up favorably elsewhere in BC-based Chinese language media, including prominent commentator Ding Guo for Rise Media, who referred to Eby as an icebreaker amid troubled tensions. David Eby wound up here with Ding Guo. This guy here, this Ding Guo, there's David Eby here with Canada Committee 100 Society. Ding Guo there, also Ding Guo right here, standing with none other than Liberal Senator Yun Pa-Wu, who's also wrapped up in this Canada Committee 100. Now, I've got that linked going down here. So here's Senator Yun Pa-Wu, and we've got him down here. Each to the Canada Committee 100 Society, Honorable Yun Pa-Wu. Good afternoon. I've been able to speak on the blind spots in Canadian foreign policy, and that is what I will do, yada, yada. Senator Yun Pa-Wu. So all these guys wrapped up in this. There's also a document here. It's actually pretty awful, the quality of it. You can search it, and it also has Rise Weekly in it. And so what does David Eby do? He gives $20,000 of Canadian taxpayer money, BC taxpayer money, provincial grant to the Canada Committee 100 Society. The same group wrapped up here with the United Front Work Department, aka the Chinese Communist Party. Once again, a group created by Ding Guo, David Eby's advisor, and this was done at the Wenzhou Friendship Society in 2018 at this banquet. And I've showed this image before. Well, we're breaking this down. We've got Ding Guo right here on the right. Obviously, that's David Eby right there. And who's this on the left here? This is Tong Jiaoling, PRC Consulate General, as in a high-level general in the United Front Work Department. That's who this is, sitting 2 seats over from David Eby at this event. We want to talk about treason. Maybe David Eby should look in the mirror. He's in bed with China. Tong Jiaoling figures heavily in Chinese spy agency reports leaked to the Globe and Mail. According to the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, CSIS, she boasted of helping replace 2 Conservative MPs in Richmond with 2 Liberals in 2021 federal election. In early 2022, she alleged discussing a strategy to replace Stewart with a Chinese-Canadian candidate. She's meddling in our elections. She's sitting 2 seats down from David Eby and Ding Guo. We see from Business Intelligence for BC, this website here, Chinese diplomat named in CSIS reports should have been expelled, says former mayor. Vancouver Mayor Kennedy Stewart wonders why the federal government did not order China's consul general in Vancouver to leave the country. Tong Jiaoling figures heavily in Canadian spy agency reports leaked to the Globe and Mail. We also this one here, RCMP to visit Friendship Society in investigation into Chinese police stations. Human rights groups alleges a station in Vancouver is being used for persuasion to return operations. And what does it say in this article further down? A Friendship Society in Richmond, BC has become a focus in an RCMP investigation into allegations of secret Chinese police stations operating in Canada. The officers visited Canada Wenzhou Friendship Society on Saturday and conducted interviews with people who live nearby in the suburb of South Vancouver. And then also goes on to say here, they knocked on the door, nobody answered, and the Society's website says it strengthens ties between the people of Wenzhou and Canada. Members gather for celebrations and discuss entrepreneurship while proudly supporting the Chinese government. So that's talking about this organization here, Wenzhou Friendship Society, the same event. That's what this is here, where David Eby was sitting there with Ding Guo, who's wrapped up in this news publication here, which is a pro-Beijing news publication, who founded this committee that David Eby gave $20,000 of British Columbia taxpayer money to while they're all at this event, sitting next to Tong Jiaoling, the PRC Consulate General of the United Front Work Department. Consul General Tong Jiaoling arrives in Vancouver. Consul General, you can see here, very high ranking in the People's Republic of China. Eby wants to talk about treason. Maybe he should look in the mirror. And we do have one other tie here to former Conservative Senator Victor O, who's an honorary director at the JCCC. This is the Jiangsu International Chamber of Commerce in Canada, also a member of the Canadian Alliance of Chinese Associations. And we can see Victor O here, more Victor O. Got Sam Cooper talking about him. And here it says, confidential source 2 also repeatedly stressed that Conservative Senator Victor O, an advisor to the Canada Committee 100 Society, was a significant target in CSIS investigation in the federal election interference. This is coming from Sam Cooper's The Bureau, which I have linked right here, and that connects back to Canada Committee 100 Society. Also, Victor O here, this guy signed document pledging allegiance to United Front Work Department. I've got all the receipts here. They're literally all these guys signing it. Victor O, honorary president of Jiangsu International, JCCC. They're signing this document here to send back to the Chinese Communist Party on the hood of a car. Here's another guy signing on his knee. Here's one of their meetings. Members of the board of directors of the JCCC in Canada told the author, upon reading this letter to our homeland, a song seemed to echo in our ears. You raised me up. You raised me up so I can stand on mountains. You inspired me, which enabled me to climb the mountain. This is so Chinese. This is so believable. This is the most Chinese thing I've ever seen. This like hokey kind of declaration. Howard Chen, a senior liberal organizer and former president of the JCCC, now under scrutiny after Prime Minister Mark Carney denied meeting the group during the January leadership campaign. Remember that? And they deleted the website? Here they are. What are we watching? I don't know if this music's copyright. What? They're packing up some boxes? This is from this Chinese, is one of these CCP YouTube channels. It's got like 10 views buried in their thousands of videos. I found this. Mr. Victor O, honorary president and Chamber of Commerce and Canadian Senator. Victor O, honorary president, JCCC. You get the idea. Victor O signed his declaration. We have another one here. This guy signing in his car. This is the actual declaration that they signed, that they sent back to the United Front Work Department in China, declaring their allegiance to the CCP. So he's wrapped up in this Canada Committee 100 Societies. Same thing with Ding Guo, Tong Jiaoling, and none other than David Eby. Moving back to the press conferences, Doug Ford giving his 2 cents on Alberta separation, or the fact that these groups are meeting with members of Trump's government.
You know, something I'm dead against that. You know, going behind Canada's back and negotiating is unacceptable. We're one country, and we should all be sticking together. We shouldn't have groups going around the federal government's back or the province's back to negotiate something with the U.S. We all know where President Trump stands. All
right. I mean, Doug Ford has his own scandals to deal with. Billions of dollars given out to businesses. This guy's in hot water right now.
I've always been clear that me and our United Conservative Caucus are supportive of a strong and sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. That is one of the bills that we passed when I first came in. But I think we also have to be realistic that 10 years under Justin Trudeau's government, our province was relentlessly attacked. Our economy was relentlessly attacked, not only for our economy, but our provincial rights and also our personal freedoms and our way of life. And so when you look at the polls, they suggest as many as 30% of Albertans have lost hope. That's about 1 million people. And I'm not going to demonize or marginalize a million of my fellow citizens when they've got legitimate grievances. What we need to do is we need to give Albertans hope. We need to show them, not just tell them, not just words, but with actions, that Canada can work. And that's what I've been doing. That's why I signed an agreement with the Prime Minister in November so that we could work in common cause on correcting some of the mistakes, I would say, of the Trudeau government. And it's why we participate in these kinds of First Ministers' conferences, so that we can find the things that we agree on and work together for that, for the betterment of the country. And I think this is a very powerful table that has been able to do that. for the last 3 years that I've been on it. And I'm honored and delighted to be here.
She's trying her best. I mean, she's dealing with a bunch of buffoons. We got a panel here at the Conservative Convention.
Monty, I'm going to start with you because you live here in Alberta. You're familiar with the sentiment.
Yep.
The prospect of separation. What did you think of the reaction that it drew today, that reporting drew?
Well, I wasn't surprised. There is concern when reports like this come out, but it is a knee-jerk reaction. And I think a lot of people, upon reflection, will say, let's calm down. They have a right to go ahead and make their arguments. And let's, by all means, defend Alberta staying in Confederation. But let's, when we go after them, let's attack their arguments, not the individuals. I think the Premier's right. They have legitimate concerns. There have been a number of things that have occurred, especially under the Trudeau government, blocking of pipelines, et cetera, that caused people to really wonder if Alberta had a place in Confederation. I think it's a legitimate concern, and I think we should just wait and let the arguments play out.
The reason I think that this exploded today, Steph, is because on the way into the Premier's meeting this morning, Premier Eby in particular in British Columbia characterized it as treason, which then prompted
David Eby is just such an idiot. He blocks the pipelines and then has the audacity, says treason to anybody in this country is ridiculous. Not to mention what I just showed you, this guy is in bed with China himself.
Reporters to ask other premiers and the Prime Minister exactly what they thought of it. What do you think about how that unfolded?
I mean, it's inflammatory language, right? The word treason, everybody gets their back up. Everyone thinks, okay, is this more than, I don't know, do we need to pay attention? And at a time when it is, I think, clear that national unity is there are chinks in that armor, shall we say? And as much as the Premier's tried to project a united front today, when you have a group going down to meet with the U.S., of all people at all times and all places, it gets people's backup legitimately. I think that it doesn't discount what the Premier said, even Monty's point, that the people who are contemplating this idea that Alberta should separate have grievances, they want them heard, but to be seeking what looks like or has the objective of looking like an allyship with America at the time when our country is so threatened by America, people are going to freak out.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that on that point in particular, Christy, Premier Smith was pretty emphatic, like, we're sovereign. That's stuff for Alberta and Canada to deal with. But on other points, there was a real distinguishment between herself and Premier Eby, right? And to Monty's point and to Steph's point, she was saying, hey, some of this, grievance is legitimate and I don't want to dismiss it. Premier Eby, doubled down on the characterization of this as a treasonous activity. And even Premier Ford was like, Danielle Smith, you got to stomp this out. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, two things. One, I think that Danielle Smith should stop using the word sovereign. What she means is provincial independence in her realm, constitutional realm, which is an issue for all premiers and has been for a long time, with lots and lots of federal overreach. So provincial independence, lots of people in Western Canada and other parts of the country would support that. Absolutely. But using the word sovereign, I think, is dog whistle politics. She's trying to, send a message to some of the people who are on the extreme who have been.
It's a bit of coy language saying sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. But I mean, when it comes down to it, when your province is getting hammered over and over, and it's not just Alberta, it's Saskatchewan. I mean, it's Canadians across the country getting hammered by the Liberal government. It's a way to rally the troops and push back and get some power back. I mean, that's what they're doing. They're getting some power back. The separation, I don't think it's going to work. There's not enough support for it, but it's enough to get some power back and say, we've had enough. It sends a message.
Part of her core in the past. And I think it's really irresponsible to do that. I don't think that David Eby should have referred to it as treason. I think that in doing that, and we all believe that there's likely an election coming up in BC, so rhetoric is getting a little bit warmed up. But I think in doing that, because it's clearly not treason under the law, I think what he was doing is giving a whole bunch of attention to a fringe group in Alberta that's never going to get any legs under it, creating a gift for Donald Trump by raising the profile of this, because what Donald Trump wants out of this is maybe better access to Alberta's resources. Okay. Second, he wants to destabilize the country in the middle of an important negotiation, and we shouldn't be giving him any advantage there.
I mean, Mark Carney could have already solved this. He could have got a deal. He doesn't want to get a deal. This all falls on the Liberal government and Mark Carney. He said he could make a deal. He can't make a deal. He's not going to. I showed you a brief bit earlier, but this is the one they were talking about.
Something I'm dead against that. Going behind Canada's back and negotiating is unacceptable. We're one country, and we should all be sticking together. We shouldn't have groups going around the federal government's back or the province's back to negotiate something with the U.S. We all know where President Trump stands. He wants Canada, and that's not going to happen. We'll fight with every tool we have. So I find that unacceptable.
This situation is the equivalent of a kid being friends with a group of friends, but they push that kid around, they bully him, maybe rough him up a bit, don't really respect him. And then the other group of kids on the other side said, hey, why don't you come over here? We give you some pie. Why don't you come play some games? You'll like it over here. And then the bullies are getting pissed off that the kid wants to go over to the other group where they'll be treated better. So the solution here is not to criticize the kid who wants to switch over to the other group that'll treat him nicer. It's to treat the kid nicer.
All that is treason, Springer. Do you think that's a fair word for what's up?
I don't know about treason. It's unacceptable. It's unethical. I'm a little disappointed that they've done this. But this is an opportunity for Premier Smith to stand up and say enough is enough. And either you're with Canada or you're not with Canada. I'm with Canada right across the board.
Is she stoking the separatists?
I don't know. I can't speak for Premier Smith. That'll be up to her to talk about it. But again, this isn't what we should be doing when there's so much uncertainty. We're under attack by President Trump. We need to be united, a united Canada. I've always said, united we stand, divided we fall. We'll make sure that we stand united.
There's no united Canada, all that elbows up, stand together bullcrap. That's all a bunch of nonsense. If that was true, then David Eby would say, yeah, build the pipeline. Let's get it going. He blocked it. He doesn't care about the people of Alberta. He doesn't even care about the people of British Columbia here. He doesn't want to bring prosperity here. He took Oregon's $6 billion surplus and turned it into $11 billion deficit. He's destroying this province. He's destroying Canadian lives. David Eby's an absolute disaster. He should be thrown out of power immediately. And on top of that, he's in bed with China. He wants to talk about treason. As I said, he should look in the mirror. These phony baloney meetings, they achieved absolutely nothing. They get all these guys to come into Ottawa, sit around the table. Nothing happens. That's why Canadians are pissed off. There's no Build Canada Strong. There's no Team Canada. Not at least with Mark Carney at the helm. It's a Brookfield Party of Canada.